代际多屌. I bet you never thought I'd say that at the beginning of a video, did you? Well, that's because 美国右派对中国很气。China! 我没说夸张哦。While researching the material for this episode, I discovered that America is in way more trouble than I thought. And as a result, Trump is assembling his warriors. Literally. It seems like the no-war president is actually gearing up for war against China. And it's all because the CCP has been doing something so horrible that within the next 4 years, it could possibly trigger World War III.
Disaster.
And it might all go down right next to my first home of Texas in Mexico. So, whiskey, ice, and I'm gonna say it twice. 代际多屌.
Another one.
Okay, so in our previous episode, we talked about Agenda 47. And there was one part of that agenda where Trump says very explicitly that he will declare war on one specific group.
Our country is being poisoned from within by the drugs and by all of the other crime that's taking place. The drug cartels are waging war in America, and it's now time for America to wage war on the cartels. When I am president, it will be the policy of the United States to take down the cartels, just as we took down ISIS and the ISIS Caliphate. I will deploy all necessary military assets, including the U.S. Navy, to impose the full naval embargo on the cartels. I did that before, and it worked. Furthermore, I will order the Department of Defense to make appropriate use of special forces, cyber warfare, and other overt and covert actions to inflict maximum damage on cartel leadership, infrastructure, and operations. I will designate the major cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. Finally, as I have said before, I will ask Congress to pass legislation ensuring that drug smugglers and human traffickers receive the death penalty.
So Trump is bringing the orange smoke to the cartels. And this time, he's not just sending in the military. He's sending in special ops and the cyber warfare units. And most important of all, he's going to officially label the cartels as terrorists. That means anyone suspected of aiding and abetting, from distribution to smuggling to even money laundering, could be labeled as a terrorist. Which is why Trump chose this man to be his border czar, Tom Howman.
I got another message. Another message to the criminal cartels in Mexico. You smuggle enough fentanyl across this country to kill 148,000 young Americans. You have more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. And that's when President Trump gets back in office. He's going to designate you a terrorist organization. He's going to wipe you off the face of the earth. You're done. You're done!
This guy has been going really viral lately. In real talk, he looks like a straight up mob boss out of Gotham City. Now, many people may not know, but Tom actually worked with Trump back in his 2017 administration. Let me tell you, my man does not take any shit. His veins are ice cold.
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
That's some cold shit.
So Tom has been serving at the border since the 1980s, spending over 20 years as a police officer, a patrol agent, a special investigator, and a special agent. He is a gladiator in the truest sense, and he has seen up close and personal the death and destruction caused by the Mexican cartel.
Mr. Holman, I'm a father. Do you have children? How can you possibly allow this to happen under your watch? Do you not care? Is it because these children don't look like children that are around you? I don't get it. Have you ever held a deceased child in your arms?
First of all, your comments are disgusting. I've served my country. I've served my country for 34 years.
I find your comments
this is out of
disgusting
control.
as well.
I've served my country for 34 years. And yes, I held a 5-year-old boy in my arms that in back of that tractor trailer. I knelt down beside him and said a prayer for him because I knew what his last 30 minutes of his life were like. And I had a 5-year-old son at the time. What I've been trying to do my 34 years serving my nation is to save lives. So for you to sit there and insult my integrity and my love for my country and for children, that's why this whole thing needs to be fixed. And you're the member of Congress.
We agree on that.
Fix it.
Now, Tom is very unlike some of the DEI politicians who have never even visited the border, opting instead to maintain their elite status by harvesting votes and overly stuffing their pockets with a stench of moral superiority. Kind of like this one.
Of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommend a zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Holman,
family.
with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
Did that go the way you thought it was going to go? Nope.
Or this one.
Look, you want to know why there's 50,000 people in detention? You want to know why we have 1 million illegal entries in the United States? You want to know why we have these issues? Because you have failed to secure the border. You have failed to work with this president to close the 3 loopholes we've asked for 2 years to close. So if you want to know why this issue exists, you need to look in the mirror. You have failed American people for not securing the border and closing loopholes.
Mr. Holman,
Look,
please respect the chair and the authority of the chair. The time of the gentleman has expired.
I've asked you politely to let me go beyond my time, and you let other people go beyond their time, but not to Tom Holman. He don't get me go beyond his time.
Mr. Holman, please respect the chair's authority. The
I
gentlewoman,
respect the chair's authority, but the chair...
Mr. Holman!
You work for
excuse
me. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
You lose! Good day, sir!
我跟你讲, polite is not in this man's lexicon, yo. And when you see him talking to Congress members like this, don't get it twisted. He's not being an asshole for conflict's sake. This is all because he knows what is really going down at the border and has had enough. And it ain't just a cartel he hates.
That 31% of women that make that journey through cartels get assaulted. 31% of women admitted it. How many actually got assaulted? I've actually talked to little girls as young as 9 years old that were multiple times by the cartel. When you drop to your knees and you look in the eyes of a 9-year-old little girl, when you stand in the back of a tractor trailer like I did with 19 illegal aliens at your feet, including a 5-year-old little boy, they're trapped in a steel box at 180 degrees to death. I'm telling you right now, something's coming. You don't have 57,000 Chinese military-aged males to enter the country without the cooperation of the Chinese government. That just don't happen in China.
That's right. In the end, all dark roads lead back to
China! China!
Now, I know right now the Lillian sure this video is probably getting flooded with 小粉红 comments bitching and crying about 阿索那你这个黑美国人很恶心耶你一直在歧视我们中国人但你都没有提供证明耶 Okay, dummy. When I'm talking about China, I'm not talking about Chinese people. I'm talking about the CCP. Now, I gotta 讲起来吼 At the border, Tom has seen more CCP than you've seen CGG on SOD southern border. And considering this guy has testified more than once in front of Congress under oath, I'd say his word is more than enough evidence for me. But just to be thorough, I'm gonna present another piece of evidence that will make it very clear why the border czar is so goddamn pissed. And you're gonna need a strong pour of whiskey for this one and some tape to keep your phone strapped to your hand. Because what I'm about to show you has not been reported by mainstream media and is sure to make you angry and scared in your bones. Here we go again. 大鸡大条.
And another one.
So I'm gonna assume that most of you guys watching now probably have your own Netflix account, and most likely you've seen at least 1 or 2 episodes of the hit show Narcos. And based on the balance of probabilities, you've probably heard the name El Chapo, the infamous Mexican duping wong. I mean, this guy had chart-topping songs made about his ass.
El Chapo. I am the God.
So a few years back, El Chapo finally got caught, and then he escaped, and then he got caught again. And who you're about to hear from today is the very guy who caught his ass, both times. Enter in Ray Donovan, the former chief operator of the DEA. And just like Tom, this guy has been fighting the cartel at the border for decades.
So we have seen where you have CCP that they sit on executive boards of some of these really prolific chemical companies that are just sending many, not just fentanyl, but many Schedule I drugs into the Western Hemisphere, in particular the United States. We've seen PRC and CCP would give grants and give other award money to chemical companies. The biggest factor, the number one factor in all of this is that we know that the PRC and CCP gives tax rebates to chemical companies to export fentanyl derivatives all throughout the world, but in particular, United States and Mexico, up to 13%. So when you say, is this a government thing versus a criminal element within China? It's really both.
So it ain't no secret that the CCP reps the Chinese government. And everything that Ray is saying here, he actually said under oath in front of Congress just a few months ago.
You know, I don't know if you know this, Vince, but I testified before Congress back in April of this year. And I laid out 5 areas that are really kind of areas to focus in on, production in China being one of them, the open ports in Mexico, right? The seaports, Mazatlan, Veracruz, Manzanillo, the labs, the clandestine labs that are real throughout Mexico, obviously the border, and then I talked about social media platforms. So there's key areas where not only Mexico or China, but the United States, in particular in regards to social media platforms.
Social media. Now, this point is very important because back in the first chapter, Trump said that he would officially label cartels as terrorist organizations. And the thing is, with that label, the American government can use the USA Freedom Act, aka the Patriot Act 2.0. Simply put, if you're a newly labeled terrorist cartel member, that means the US government can look into all your shit, your computer, your phones, and most importantly, your social media accounts.
There are many Chinese groups in Mexico today that are criminal groups in and of themselves, okay? They are their own enterprise, and they are no longer Chinese Mexicans, they are Mexican Chinese, meaning that they are there for now generations.
Really?
Right? And they've been there for a period of time, and they do work with Sinaloa, CJ&G cartels. 2013, we started seeing fentanyl precursors come into the United States, right? Primarily APNP or 4-APP, which are the precursors for meth production. You add propylene, and you essentially have fentanyl. And then they would mix that with heroin, Mexican heroin, and make it the heroin much stronger. It was called China White on the streets at the time. This was 2013, 2014. That is when we started pivoting into the Chinese role into synthetics.
China White, the official nickname for fentanyl-laced heroin. So let's recap, shall we? The Border Czar previously testified that there were 57,000 military-age illegal Chinese immigrant males who have entered the U.S. We all know that not a single one of that 65K could have left China without an official government hall pass. And according to Ray Donovan, China is basically running all the fentanyl labs in Mexico alongside the Sinaloa cartel. And then, via their own 混血儿毒品联盟, they are running that shit to America.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Now, I'm just a dumb YouTuber and I could be wrong, but this sounds to me like a goddamn invasion.
This is my opinion. It's not based on anything in particular, but having been a Border Patrol agent and been DEA for many years and worked the border and been in Mexico for many, many years and then out of Mexico, my belief is that the Chinese nationals, most of them single men, individuals, there is a portion of that group that are intel officers coming into the nation. That's just purely my belief based on my background, on my experience. Now, is it the vast majority of them? No, I don't think so. But they're paying a lot of money to the cartel to get smuggled all the way from South America into the Darien Gap, all the way up to Mexico, directly into the United States.
Now keep in mind, this is the guy who caught El Chapo twice. So I think everything he's saying is more than likely true. And then it seems like the DEA has another problem.
Another component of the challenge. There's not very many Mandarin speakers in DEA. There's not very many Mandarin data scientists in DEA.
The challenge of getting people with good Mandarin skills and Chinese cultural background is that security people are very reluctant when somebody comes in and they do have good Chinese, but they also have an extensive network of relationships in China.
所以你中文讲得太好的话, the DEA won't hire your ass. Because to them, you just might be a secret agent.
I will impose a full naval embargo on the drug cartels and deploy military assets to inflict maximum damage on cartel operations. I will insist on the full cooperation of neighboring governments to dismantle the trafficking and smuggling networks in our region, and I will ask Congress to ensure that drug dealers, kingpins, and human traffickers receive the death penalty.
So Trump says that China, aka Xi Jinping, is letting fentanyl flow through America again. And he's making it known in public that if Xi Jinping doesn't shut that shit down, he's coming for him.
Either we will get the full cooperation of other governments to stop this menace, or we will expose every bribe, every kickback, every payoff, and every bit of corruption that is allowing the cartels to preserve their brutal reign. And it is indeed brutal.
So Trump is willing to put all of Chinese dirty laundry in them streets. That sounds like a threat to me. Now, according to the mainstream media, the American political left sees China as a global competitor, but to the American right, China is a global enemy, yo. Oh, and by the way, if you guys haven't already, you should definitely check out an amazing TV show which covers everything we are talking about with awesome action and dramatic detail called Lioness. Because season 2 makes it very clear where the political right stands on China. But if you'd rather go the non-fiction route, then let's have a close look at who Trump is picking for his cabinet. Because who he's chosen so far are all certified warhawks, in every sense of the word. And it seems like now, China has a dish of revenge coming to him best served cold. So lately, Taiwanese have been citing the latest New York Times article claiming that Trump is going to nominate Senator Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. Jesus, 千万不要好了啦.
On foreign policy, America continues to be indispensable to the goal of global liberty.
What?
Property and safeguarding human rights. The world is a better place when America is the strongest nation on earth. But we can't remain powerful if we don't have an economy that can afford it. In the short time that I've been here in Washington, nothing has frustrated me more than false choices like the one the president laid out tonight. The choice isn't just between big government or big business.
Damn, nigga, how thirsty are you? Shouldn't you hydrate before going live in front of the American public?
Bureaucratic incompetence.
Now, it is true that Rubio is very anti-CCP, but to most of Americans, myself included, this fool is a spineless, flip-flopping bureaucrat who will say anything to advance his career. This nigga can't manage money, he weaponizes identity politics, he flip-flops on immigration, and most importantly, he lied about his family history. He's the male Republican version of Kamehameha Harris.
No, you're right.
Even Trump punked his ass before.
When they put Marco on to refute President Obama's speech, do you remember that catastrophe? And he's like this, and we were, I need water, help me, I need water, help. This is on live television. It's Rubio. That's what it is.
But hey, maybe Marco Rubio has some qualities that I don't see in him that Trump does. But do you know who I think would be a much better choice? My homegirl Tulsi Gabbard. A legit war hero. She's got over 10 medals on her trophy case, yo. So does Trump's next choice, the future National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz. A former Green Beret Special Forces member who has over 27 combat deployments under his belt and has spent over 20 years pew-pewing terrorists in the face. Now, he was also the special advisor to Dick Cheney, but never mind that for now. Because just 4 years into his congressman career, this guy actually visited Taiwan on official diplomatic business. And just like every single member of Trump's team so far, he hates the CCP in his bones, son.
I think there's an increasing awareness, Dana. I think for those of us that are on the national security committees, intelligence, armed services, foreign affairs, that see the intelligence every day, where Xi is telling his country to prepare for war by 2027, and that taking Taiwan will be his first major step, well, actually second after taking Hong Kong, but becoming the dominant global superpower on his watch and replacing the American dream with the China dream. That's not a world that I want my kids or grandkids growing up in. And Seth is right. We have to deter that from ever happening in the first place. That means getting our supply chains out of China, which they plan to use as leverage, everything from electric batteries to our pharmaceuticals. And that means going to a position of strategic clarity so that Xi thinks this will cost him too much.
So from Tim as a border czar to Mike as a national security advisor, now Pete Hegseth as the Secretary of Defense, and hopefully, fingers crossed, Tulsi Gabbard, it is very clear that Trump is surrounding himself by warriors who are not afraid to get their hands dirty. So with Trump's anticipated war on the Mexican cartels, who are basically the CCP's own private army, do you still think he's a good friend to Xi Jinping, ma? The CCP is destabilizing the United States and poisoning American society through the Mexican cartel. And whether you believe it or not, the folks who are about to be in charge of America sure do. And if the CCP doesn't shut its shit down before the Orange Man gets in office, we are very likely to see the beginnings of World War III. Or I could just be full of conspiratorial bullshit. Let me know what you think down below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side. Peace!